tell the story.
Okay.
Let's start with you.
Okay, well, for me, my work is absolutely a lifeline without being precious about it. It's always sort of a place I go to, whatever is happening in my life, and I'm fortunate that I've been able to do that. And as a woman and as a mother and, you know, all the ups and downs of one's own domestic life. I'm not talking about the global situation, I'm just talking about my own immediate life. So it's just interesting that since my last exhibition, there's one particular painting I did that's called Redemption, which I think did really reflect that sense of this insane world we live in, and also about the patriarchy, which is sort of destroying our world. And I think that actually there is a sort of pushback, but not fast enough, but all these threads of things that are happening. As an artist, I think one receives that information, and some people sort of synthesize that, but this particular painting, I think, for me personally, it's this figure, a horizontal figure with a woman who actually looks very Persian. That was completely not a conscious decision, but she's iconically Persian and ethereal and a redeemer. And the background's quite sort of turbulent. There's a sense that she's a stable figure, and she's got beautiful hair. And so that I don't think I would have done that painting a year prior to my last exhibition. So it was also being introduced to this whole other culture, which has been thanks to Tannaz, which has been a revelation and a really beautiful experience. I don't say that with any flattery. It's really been a privilege. And then, of course, this year, 2026, with the terrible attack on Iran and what all that means for people in my immediate circle now because of my relationship with Tannaz and the gallery. So, yeah, it's been an extraordinary sort of passage because of those two things.
Yeah. Actually, the piece that you're talking about, it's a very important piece. Also resonated a lot with me since it has this Persian touch, and I'm very thankful to you to make that piece, even though it was unconscious. It's very strong, and when we have exhibited that in the gallery, so many people were touched by that piece, not knowing what it represents. After your solo show, so the continuation to prepare new artworks, as you can see, having a new solo show. I'm not sure if many artists are capable to do 2 solo shows so rich like this in 2 years. Like it was just last April, and I think like you worked very hard, have many ideas, and every piece tells something different. You never repeat yourself. At the same time, there is this line connecting all the works, so it's very special. And we had like people like the exhibition so far, so we are both happy about it. But yeah, it was not easy because many of pieces, the portraits, I think you just finished 2026, like this past few months. So,
yeah. But it's interesting between 2 shows. The first show, working together, what we've learned, you know, when you're working with someone, and the relationship between a gallery director and an artist is very particularly important. And so it's mutually nurturing. And in the beginning, you're just learning how you work together. I mean, so I feel this show is much more coherent. And also we did a private view and a more public opening, and that was a really good thing to do.
Yeah.
So you could concentrate on 2 separate contexts.
Yeah.
And that was really, I thought that, and that was Tannaz who proposed that. And I found her a really creative director. I find it remarkable because there's a lot of very strong, demanding pieces in this room, and yet the way it's hung is very coherent. And we've had a lot of very good positive remarks about the way there's this sort of very good accrochage. my exploration has remained constant from the beginning, really. My interest in the human face, what we understand by looking at the human face, what we read into the human face, but also the whole idea of a moment in a scene, but it's not literally realistic. So it's sort of metaphysical. It can be read in many different ways. At the same time, I feel hopefully that my work doesn't remain static or repetitive, and that would bore me silly. I'm constantly trying to sort of, reinvent. But it was a really exciting possibility to be able to put the older work in, and it also made me review some of the older pieces and rework them. And that was actually satisfying in that it's a bit like any work that's a bit incomplete or you're not satisfied with it. You feel it's annoying. So I was very happy to have that opportunity to sort of redeem some of those pieces. And it's true the way it's hung. I don't want to sort of keep on going on about this, but it is really nicely hung in that the pieces relate. They're not necessarily from the same time, but they relate very well together, the way they're hung. So, and I don't know whether you found it a challenge showing older than you, I don't know.
I remember being in Rebecca's studio and wondering how I can curate this show, like how on earth I can do that. And I think what we finally did is that, like, having two categories, because some of the works that you see in the main space are more narrative ones. For me, looking at Rebecca's work, it's always like watching a 2-hour movie. Like, it's like a movie, just looking at a piece. It's so amazing. You almost enter the ambience. If it's a jazz bar, you are in the jazz bar. You can almost hear the music. So this is the intensity of the narrative works. So we have decided to put them in the bigger space. So it's like you feel like you can enter them. And the second category of works are more portrait based, when the faces, the looks are very intense. It can be a small portrait, but it's like you can even guess what's going on in her head, in his head. So, and the other section, which is the back section, we concentrated on these portrait works. So this is how, and the place, it's kind of magical. We didn't thought that, we didn't think that we can install all the works. We were very ambitious that let's bring it, we'll see how many works we will exhibit. And like all the pieces that we wanted for the exhibition are here, and you can look at everything.
It's quite miraculous, really, because I mean, personally, I said, look, can I bring the pieces? We discussed what we would like to put in it, but I had no idea that we would be able to hang it all. And well, many people said it's not overwhelming. It's just an immersive experience.
During the installation, we were deciding how to install works, and I wanted to really go very maximalist on this exhibition, on the accrochage. I really wanted to push it very hard. And so, I said,
the sky's the limit. No, well, I received various WhatsApp messages during the accrochage, and they were quite euphoric at times, and sort of, we've done this, and I saw, stages of the progress. And then there was a point, there was just one painting, this painting over here, that hadn't found its place, and I thought, okay. And then when I arrived, everything was in its place. I mean, it was like I wasn't here for the accrochage. I saw bits and pieces of the stages of it. But that was actually really lovely to come in and see it completed and so well done. That's really a lovely feeling. Yeah.
And so the funny part is that I when you brainstorm, you just say everything comes to your mind. And the red piece that you can see there, I was like, how about putting it on the ceiling? That day I was giving so many outrageous, crazy ideas, and so having a high sugar blood, they were like, maybe we tone it down a little bit. So, voila, my idea maybe for another.
The Sistine Chapel, you know.
Voila.
Next time. First of all, when we had this sort of idea of, we discussed which pieces we'd put in the exhibition, and we wanted to have a title, and finding a title is always very helpful because it gives you a theme, an overall theme. And so we came up with this idea of moments. They're all moments. The narratives are all of moments. And vignettes seem very appropriate because a lot of them have these smaller vignettes within them. And that was also satisfying to find a title that covered those, the way I'd constructed these particular narratives. The question is, how do I feel when other people interpret the stories in a particular way? Is that your question? So the thing is that I actually don't want to relate the story in an illustrative way. It starts often with a face which radiates a feeling around it. And the experience, for example, this one is called Voyage et Histoires. And it's supposed to be that experience when you are traveling and you look at other people and you think about what their lives are, where they're coming from. But that's what I had in my mind. But it's also open to, you know, if Tannaz looks at it, she might reinterpret it in her own individual way. And I think that's what's so exciting about figurative art of narrative styles, that you can have your own version. That's completely legitimate and it's exciting. And it's a bit like the cinema, you know, you go to the cinema and you make up your own particular story as well. Because I just think the relationship with the gallery is important. And I think that, you know, it's a dialogue about how you're going to do something. So I feel that Tannaz does curate the exhibitions that she shows, not just mine, but I think with all, it's like Roca, I think you do have a sense of being able to create the environment and the universe of the artist. And I think that actually enables the spectators to actually get the experience and the meaning of the artist's work. And that's not always the case. I mean, I think a director is not always a curator, but I actually think that you are a curator.
I mean, thank you so much for the compliments.
No, it's sincere.
So, but you know, I only try because I think it's important that when somebody enters the gallery, they, especially in a solo show, they enter the artist's universe.
Exactly.
And like you want to enter their universe and be immersed, you know. So if the work is minimalist, it should be quiet, minimalist, and so it's all about the experience, but
it's coherent, you know. I mean, I think sometimes you go to an exhibition and you come out and, I'm talking about in a museum, but you come out and you feel confused.
Yeah.
And for me personally, a good piece of curation is you come out and it's been a fluid learning, understanding experience. And that's so much how an exhibition is put together.
Merci. Merci.
C'est bon?
Thank you.
Oh.